Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Let's Talk Kashrus, presented by the Kashrus Awareness Project in conjunction with Torah Anytime. Today, I am privileged to be joined by Rabbi Dovid Cohen, Administrative Rabbinical Coordinator with the CRC, the Chicago Rabbinical Council. How are you, Rabbi Cohen?
I am good. Good to be here.
So nice to have you back.
Yes. Same
And
here.
thank you for being here for previous installments. And today, I'd like to discuss with you a very practical topic that affects many people, and that is pre-seasoned pans. I know when you go into the store, you could buy stainless steel or other different types of pans and sheets that are made out of different types of metal, and very often they're coated with various coatings, Teflon or other things like that. I'd like you to educate us today as to which of these types of pans or coatings do present kashrus concern, and if they do have a kashrus concern, is there any possibility to kasher those types of pans and pots to enable us to use them?
Okay. So most of the pots and pans that we use are made of stainless steel or aluminum. They don't rust. Some of them have a Teflon coating on them to make them non-stick, and none of those present kashrus issues. Those are all very straightforward. There's no kashrus issues to them. But there are pans made of cast iron. Cast iron is like a more traditional, just a piece of iron, and of course it will rust. If it left to its own devices, it'll rust, and it's also food will stick to it. Mm-hmm. So there's one way to deal with that, and that is called to enamel the pot. Okay, which is like a coating. It's often colorful, blue, red, green, different kinds of colors, and those are also not a kashrus concern. Mm-hmm. In mentioning that, I'll just mention that the base of the pot is metal. The coating is a glass. That enamel is a type of glass, so it needs to be toiveled with the bracha like any other regular pot or pan. The one that's the most of an issue is the ones that are cast iron, but they're coated. They're called the pre-seasoned with oil, which means to see is at the factory somebody they basically smear oil onto it and bake it in an oven, and what that does is it prevents it from rusting. This coating keeps it from rusting, and it also gives it non-stick qualities. And they do it for you. You could buy ones that's not pre-seasoned, but lots of people want to buy it. It's convenient. It comes pre-seasoned, and the concern therefore is, well, what's that oil? Do we have no idea whether that oil is kosher or it's not kosher? And if it's not kosher, then you just got a pot that baked into it with non-kosher oil.
And obviously the concern is when you're baking in your house that's going to be absorbed into your food, right?
That's correct. That's great. And it's meant to stay there. It's there. It's put there on purpose, and it's there. Right. They're not putting it in for the flavor of it, but it can give potentially taste into your food. So if that oil was not kosher, you have a problem.
So it's typically put on these pans, first of all, to prevent rust, and also to create that non-stick quality
of the
quality, right? So first of all, how do we know? I go into a houseware store. How do I know what pots and pans are of concern? Okay. You're saying Teflon typically is not a problem.
Correct. And most people are using just stainless steel or aluminum pots. They're shiny. They look like metal. Those are not a concern. They're called the pre-seasoned cast iron. You would see them. They're usually black.
Is cast iron typically only used for commercial, or is it used for?
No, people use it at home. It has whatever reason why people prefer one pot over the other, or pans like griddles, and they're not shy about it. They'll tell you that it's pre-seasoned and it's cast iron. It's very heavy. It's heavier than your everyday stainless or aluminum pan, or copper. And generally, you could see that it is. It's not a secret. You know?
So I go to the store so typically cast iron is the only one that is of concern. Is that what you're saying? Okay.
Yes.
So that's rule number one. If it's not cast iron, I could rest assured that it's okay.
No problem.
So I bring home a cast iron pot or pan. I bought it. I want to use it, and then I notice this issue. What can I do about it?
Okay. So what we need to do is we need to kasher it. Okay. And we need to get rid of that trafe that's in there. Okay. So the first question we have to think about is, wait a second, before we think about kashering kashering like with boiling water, we'll talk about that in a second, is, wait a second, if there's someone put oil into there and it's on there as a coating, do I have to clean it off first? Do I have to get rid of it first? And before you can't kasher a dirty pot.
Right.
You can't, so if there's actual oil on it, as a coating, then, so we brought this child to Schwartz. We said to him, do we have to get it off first? And the company will tell you, don't wash this with soap. Make sure you don't get. Is
that what they say?
Yes, we put the coating on. We put the coating on purpose. We seasoned it for you so that, and don't get it off. Don't put it in the dishwasher because it'll come off. So we
How are you supposed to wash such a pot, by the way?
You wash it gently.
Gently.
You wash it gently, and so we said, is that considered that it's be'en? It's residue that you have to get rid of. So he touched it, and he went like this, and he says, I feel nothing. I see, even though we all know that there was a coating that was put on, he says, when Chazal said that there are bliyas, that's what they were talking about. It's something that you can't see and you can't touch it, but it's in there and you know it's there.
Right.
He says that's what a bliya is. Bliya is not something magical. He says what we're looking at is a bliya. So now we could turn to the halachas of okay, we have a
now
clean
that
pot.
it's not be'en,
Now
and
we
it's
have
a bliya, we
now
could,
we say okay,
how
how do we kasher this pot? So that also had a shiloh to it, and that is there's a shita, the Ramami Panoi, who says is that when you use a pot with isser, even if it's in liquid form, if it has direct contact between the isser and the pot, you need to do libun. Which would mean is in this case, the oil, if it was not kosher, had direct contact with the pot when it was in the oven, it would need to have libun. That's not realistic. Nobody could do libun. Okay? There is such a sheet of Ramami Panoi, but that's not accepted halacha. Accepted halacha is the only time you need libun is if when it's a solid food that had direct contact with the pot. So let's say someone cooked a piece of treif meat in your pan, then it would need libun. But a liquid does not need to have libun. So you need to do hagala to it. And to do hagala, basically you need to get a big pot, boil up water, and put this cast iron pot into it. Just bear in mind a couple of things, and that is these tend to be very large cast iron pots, so you could do hagala one part at a time. You don't have to get the whole pot in.
I was going to say, to clarify, irui, which is pouring hot water on a, is not sufficient. You have to immerse. You have to immerse the item in the water. But like you're saying, because they're very large, you're probably not going to be able to find a pot to be able to put the whole pan or pot into. But you could do it
left side first, and then the right side. That's fine.
Okay.
And the second thing is that because they tend to be very heavy, and very dense, when you put it into the water is going to stop boiling. Okay, because all of a sudden you're dunking this cold piece of metal into the boiling water, the water is going to lose its boil. So what we tell people is put it in, get the water boiling, put it in, and then wait for it to boil it again. I mean, now it'll have heated up the pan as well. Now you did that, now go to the other side and kasher the other side is the same thing.
Very interesting. Any final thoughts on this, or is that it?
No.
Well,
let me throw in one other thing.
Okay.
There are some wooden boards you could buy that people might put into a barbecue that have a similar issue. This is not a pan anymore. This is wood, and it also could be
comes with a coating.
With a coating of
Right.
oil. If they use just mineral oil or they put nothing onto it, those are fine. Mineral oil is kosher. Or if they put no coating onto it, that's fine. But some of those will say that they put on an oil coating onto it.
Again, so that the meat shouldn't stick to it, or whatever reason.
I'm not sure what the reason for that is. I guess it's for that.
And these pieces of wood that people use to grill and so on and so forth, how would I know if I buy it if there's a concern on
You'd
it?
have to poke around. Look at the manufacturer, see if it comes with some kind of oil on top of it. If it's just mineral oil, you're good. If it's no oil, it's also fine. But if it has like a vegetable or oil or animal fat to it, then you'd have a problem.
You have a problem because you can't kasher that, right?
Right. You probably can't put that into boiling water. Yeah, I would think. But
Right.
if you could put in the water, I guess boiling water would work. But I don't know if it can handle it. So.
Right. Okay.
Okay.
Thank you so much. Wonderful discussion.
Sure. Happy to be here.